Swear or affirm the testimony you're giving today is true and correct, so help you God.
I do.
I do.
Thank you. You can put your hand down. All right, Jefferson County Court come to order. Start off with is 21 CPR 0032, stated Marie Galvan. Ms. Cooper,
Yes, sir, we're here. Can you hear me?
can hear you and you may proceed, ma'am.
Great. Mr. Galvan, is your name Jeremiah H. Galvan?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you the husband of Linda Marie Galvan?
Yes, ma'am.
And was she a resident of Chambers County, Texas for 6 months or more before her death
Yes, ma'am.
at the age of 70 here in Chambers County, Texas?
Yes.
And she died on June 5th of 2020.
Yes, ma'am.
You looked for a will, did you not?
Yeah, we did.
And could you find one?
No.
So you have filed this application to determine heirship as required by Texas law for an intestate death without will.
Yes.
Now, you've provided the information that we have put in our application. Your wife and you have 4 children.
Yes.
Rebecca Lynn Torres. Lloyd, yes?
Yes.
You'll have to say yes.
Yes.
For
Yes.
for the record. Lloyd Joseph Jones Galvan,
Yes.
Jeremiah Lloyd Galvan,
Yes.
and Elaine Francis Salinas.
Yes.
Is there any other child that was ever born to your wife during her lifetime?
No, ma'am.
And not, of course, during this marriage. So in determining the heirs, do you know of any heir other than yourself as the spouse
No.
and Rebecca Lloyd Joseph, Jeremiah Lloyd, and Elaine Francis as her children?
Right. Yes, ma'am.
That's the only known heirs.
Yes.
All right, and you have listed her property. You're asking the court to approve the application because there's a necessity for the probate administration of this estate for the transfer of real property and other assets, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I would pass this witness at this point and then offer the testimony of the 2 heirship affidavit people that are present. So I would pass the witness over to Ms. Price.
Right.
I have no questions of this witness, Judge.
Okay, you may proceed.
Now, I will start with Janie Moorhead.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you reside where?
In Anahuac.
And how long did you know Linda Marie Galvan?
Probably close to 20 years.
All right. And did you have a close enough relationship to her to know who she's married to,
Yes.
who her heirs are,
Yes.
who her family
Yes,
is?
ma'am.
And is your testimony based on your observations, your conversations, your closeness with the family,
Yes, all of those.
and your knowledge of the family, the marriages, and the children that were born?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, you do know, your heirship says that you knew that Linda was only married one time, and that was to Jeremiah, who's sitting here before the court.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's correct.
Yes, ma'am.
And that she only had 4 children.
Yes.
And those have been named in the record of this case.
Yes,
Do you
ma'am.
know of any other child
No, ma'am.
born to her, adopted by her, or raised by her?
No, ma'am.
All right. And you know that her mother was Lily Florence Elaine Skidmore Jones.
Yes, ma'am. Granny.
And Granny, you called her Granny.
Yes.
And that she died in 19, and who her father was. We have a whole history here of the lineage of Linda Galvan, don't we?
Yes, ma'am.
And it's true and correct.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're not offered any promise, any money or anything to be here today to assist the court in determining the heirs of Linda Galvan, are you?
No, ma'am, I'm not.
All right. To save a little time, well, okay, I'll pass the witness to Ms. Price.
Yes.
Thank you, Judge. Do you know or have you ever seen that Ms. Galvan brought any other child into the home or anybody in the home other than the 4 children that you know of?
No, ma'am. She did not.
And how long did you know Ms. Galvan?
Close to 20 years.
And so were y'all neighbors or just close friends?
Just friends. I worked with her daughter, so I got to know her by working with Becky Torres.
Okay. So did Did y'all ever have a conversation about there being a will, that she needed a will? Did she ever talk about having a will?
No, ma'am, I never had that conversation.
Okay. And so you're not aware that she had a will at all?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And you are not going to inherit anything of this property here today?
No, ma'am, I'm
And
not.
you were not paid for your testimony today?
No, ma'am, I'm not.
That's all I have, Judge, for this witness.
Okay, call your next witness.
I call Maria Ruiz. Maria,
Yes,
how
ma'am.
long did you know Linda Galvan?
I knew her my whole life. Yes, 34 years.
So you're very close to the
Very
Galvan
close.
family.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
You knew that it was a sudden death. It was due to cancer.
Unfortunately, yes, ma'am.
And she just didn't feel well enough to do what needed to be done to put a will together.
No, ma'am.
In fact, she was probating her mother's estate at the
At the
time of her
time.
death.
Yes, ma'am.
It was
correct.
so quick and unfortunate. Yes, I know. You were close to her.
Very.
And I'll ask you the same questions that I asked Janie. Do you know of any other child other than the 4 children that are listed here
No, ma'am.
and the one husband,
One husband.
Jeremiah, who's sitting here?
Mhm.
And those are the 5 heirs of Linda,
Yes, ma'am,
and
correct.
there's none other.
No, ma'am.
And if I pass the witness, Your Honor.
Yes.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Ruiz, did you or Ms. Galvin ever have an opportunity to talk about whether she had a will or not?
No, ma'am. We would talk about family, her grandkids, her husband, but no, nothing ever about a kid. Her cooking, but no, ma'am, nothing ever about a will.
And she never mentioned any other family member other than her husband that's sitting next to you and also her children. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you don't have any opportunity to inherit from this estate, nor did you take any funds for payment as your testimony today?
Absolutely not.
Okay. That's all I have, Judge.
Judge, I offer into evidence the waiver of service and appearance and agreement of every heir for this declaration of heirship and for the independent administration, which will come next to be entered by this court, from Jeremiah Galvan, the applicant and husband, from Lord Joseph Jones Galvan, the son, Jeremiah Lord Galvan, Elaine Francis, Salinas, and Rebecca Lynn Torres have all filed, and they are signed, and they are filed with you in the court's records. We do ask that the declaration of heirship, the judgment determining the heirship, including Jeremiah as the spouse, Rebecca, Lord, Jeremiah, and Elaine as the children, be approved by the court and entered. I understand that Ms. Price fees of $600 will be paid by my check to her, and that is what I request the judge to approve.
Okay, I'll assume there's no objection from Atlanta,
No objection, Judge.
especially for the payment, right? All right, I hereby admit those into evidence and approve the judgment determining heirship of the state of Linda Maria Galvan. And ma'am, you may proceed.
For the independent administration.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, your name again is Jeremiah H. Galvan,
Yes, ma'am.
and your wife died in Chambers County
Yes, ma'am.
on
June the 5th,
2020.
2020. Yes.
and she was a resident of Chambers County, Texas.
Yes.
You
Yes,
had
ma'am.
property here.
Yes, ma'am.
There is a necessity for an independent administration. You are the father of all the heirs,
Yes, ma'am.
and they have signed their a waiver of service and agreement for you to be the independent to serve without bond, because this is a family affair.
Yes, ma'am. Correct.
And this court has jurisdiction over this case. There is a necessity for an administration so you can handle the property and affairs of your wife.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you look for a will?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And there wasn't one, was there?
No.
Okay, and you're asking the court to approve, or you're offering into evidence the proof of death and other facts that you have actually attested to here and signed, and it is filed before the court.
Yes, ma'am.
And that is true and correct.
Yes.
That's all, Your Honor. We are asking that the independent administration to serve without bond be approved by the court and entered today.
Okay, so done. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. You have a good day.
Thank you,
Thank
Judge.
you.
All right, 21 CPR 0067, the state of Kennethdale Wright.
Morning, Your Honor.
Good morning. How are you, ma'am?
I'm doing good.
You may proceed.
All right. Your Honor, at first we'll ask that you take judicial notice of the citation by publication, the notice in the newspaper, the MERP Medicaid showing that there is no claim for Medicaid on file, and the waiver of service.
So done.
All right. So first we are going to start with our witnesses for a declaration of heirship, and Mr. Williams. I'm sorry, Mr. Falcon, Daryl Falcon, will you please state your full name
Daryl George Falcon,
and where do you reside?
6608 Val Street, Grove, Texas, 77619.
Did you know Mr. Kenneth Dale?
Pretty good.
How did you know him?
Run around with him for since about 1950 something.
Were you well acquainted with his family history?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so I want to go through that a little bit with you today. How many children did he have?
2,
And do you recall their names?
Troy and Kim.
And who is Troy and Kim's mother?
Linda.
Do you remember Ms. Linda's maiden name?
Ooh. Yeah. Johnson. That's right.
All right. And was Mr. Kenneth Dale married to Linda Johnson?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know about how many years they were married?
Not exactly, no, ma'am.
Do you know how their marriage ended?
I guess it's a divorce.
Divorce? Okay. Was Mr. Kenneth Dale married a second time?
Yes, ma'am.
And who was that marriage to?
Dixie.
Did he have any children with Miss Dixie?
No, ma'am.
And how did his marriage end to Miss Dixie?
He didn't. She passed away.
Okay. Do you remember what year she passed away?
2019.
Okay. Okay, so she passed away sometime last year or year before.
Yes, ma'am.
And after she passed away, did he live with anybody else that you know of?
Nope.
And did he adopt any children?
Nope.
Did he raise any other children in his household that would have been his children?
No, he never did adopt none, but he had one boy. That was Dixie's son's kid.
His step grandson?
Yeah.
And he lived in the household with them?
Yeah.
But as far as you know, that child was never adopted.
Nope.
So were there any other marriages other than the two that you've stated so far?
No, ma'am.
Do you know if Kenneth Dale owned any property?
Just where he lived at, and he had, I think, some in Mount Bellevue.
Okay. And do you know if Mr. Kenneth Dale had a will?
Nope.
Did he ever talk to you about a will?
No, ma'am.
And did he ever mention to you that he was going to make a will?
Nope.
And to the best of your knowledge, are Kenneth, Troy, and Kim the only heirs of Kenneth Dale?
What, could you repeat that question?
Sure. To the best of your knowledge, are Kenneth, Troy Wright, and Kim Wright the only heirs of Kenneth Dale?
Right.
And is your testimony today given freely and voluntarily?
Right.
Have you been paid anything for your testimony?
Nope.
Will you be inheriting anything from this estate?
Nope.
Nothing further from this witness, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Savage, good morning.
Good morning. Mr. Falcon, you testified that you had known Mr. Wright since you were kids.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And in regard to his marriages, you said he was married a second time to Dixie. Was that correct? His
Yes,
second
he's married
marriage,
to Dixie. Yes, ma'am.
that was the one, and she passed away.
Yes, ma'am.
And to your knowledge, she had children.
Dixie had two.
Okay,
Two
but
kids.
they weren't Mr. Wright's children.
Nope.
Now, later on in life, do you have any knowledge that they used his name? They went by Wright?
I'm not really sure. They could have, yes.
Okay, but you were friends enough with him to know that he never adopted any of Dixie's kids?
No.
Okay. And at the time of the marriage, Dixie and Mr. Wright, they had a house together there in Mont Bellevue?
In Mont Bellevue.
Or in the Chambers County area? Did you ever go to their home?
Ma'am?
Did you ever visit their home?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And when you visited, were his kids ever there?
Mr. Wright's kids?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they visited him, they were there. They grew up,
Troy and Kim, and then
Right.
the children of Dixie, but you're certain that he never adopted Dixie's kids?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Whether they used his name or not, they were not adopted.
They were not adopted.
Okay. And do you have any knowledge that Mr. Wright had any children by any other women that he may not have been married to?
Nope.
Okay. And do you feel like he was a good enough friend that he would have discussed that with you?
Sure.
Okay. And in other words, if the Attorney General had filed something against him to collect child support on a child that was outside of his marriage, do you think he would have told you about it?
Yes.
Probably raised hell about it?
Probably.
Okay. But, and you're certain that he only had these two children, Kim and Troy. And in regard to this, you're not receiving, you have no monetary interest in this estate?
None whatsoever.
None whatsoever. Okay. I'll pass the witness.
Thank you, ma'am. Counselor, call your next witness, please.
All right. Let's see, Mr. Williams,
Yes, ma'am.
will you please state your full name?
My name is Felton A. Williams Jr.
And Mr. Williams, you also were well aware of Mr. Kenneth Dale's family history.
Yes, ma'am. I was.
How long did you know Mr. Kenneth Dale?
Since I was a neighbor of his since about 11 or 12 years old.
Okay,
And many years, like 50, 60 years.
all right.
How
So
long?
you would have first met him in what year? You would have first met Mr. Kenneth Dale in what year?
Probably in the late 50s.
Okay, and since that time, did you and Mr. Kenneth Dale carry on a friendly relationship?
Yes, ma'am.
Were y'all close?
Yes, ma'am.
And did y'all talk about family and what was going on day-to-day life?
Yes, ma'am, we did.
So if I asked you the same questions that I asked Mr. Falcon, would your answers be the same?
Yes, ma'am, they would.
And so to the best of your knowledge, who are the two children of Mr. Kenneth Dale?
Troy and
Kim.
Kim. I couldn't remember her name. I know her name. Kim.
Okay, but you do know that she had two children. He had
Yes,
two
ma'am.
children. And do you know if he ever adopted any other children?
No, ma'am.
Did he ever bring any other children into his home other than his stepchildren?
No, ma'am.
And are you giving your testimony today freely and voluntarily?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you been paid anything for your testimony today?
No, ma'am.
Would you be receiving anything through inheritance for the testimony?
No, ma'am, I wouldn't.
And did you and Mr. Kenneth Dale talk about him having a will?
I don't think we ever brought that up.
Okay, so to the best of your knowledge, he didn't have a will.
No, ma'am.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Savage.
Okay, Mr. Williams, you've been asked questions by Ms. Crisco. Now, in regard to the questions that I asked Mr. Falcon, if I ask you the same questions, would yours be the answers be the same?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then specifically in regard to his second wife, you visited in the home after he was married to Dixie?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you were aware that he had stepchildren?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you met him, and were you aware that, I know one of them used his last name? Rowdy?
I didn't understand the question.
One of them used his last name. Rowdy, did you know him? Did you ever meet him?
No, ma'am.
You didn't? Okay, so, but you're sure that he only had the two, Kim and Troy, were his only kids, his only biological kids?
Yes, ma'am.
And he didn't have any children that predeceased him, that
No,
died
ma'am.
to you, and you would have known if he had a child that died, correct?
No, ma'am.
You would have known though if that had happened.
Yes, ma'am.
Because did you keep up your relationship with him up until his death? Did you see him on different occasions up until the time he died?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you kept up with what was going on in his life.
Yes, ma'am.
And in regard to any children by any other women that he possibly was not married to or lived with?
No, ma'am.
You don't know of any kids that he had?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And do you feel like he would have discussed that with you had that occurred?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And in regard, he never discussed like having to pay child support on some child that was born to some other woman?
Yes, ma'am.
He did or he didn't?
I repeat that question.
Did he ever discuss having to pay child support to any child
No,
that
ma'am.
wasn't Dixie or that other lady, Linda's?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And you knew him well enough, you feel like he would have discussed that with you had that happened?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you're not receiving any money for testifying? You've been asked that one time.
No, ma'am.
And you're not going to inherit anything from the estate?
No, ma'am.
You're just here voluntarily to testify to who his heirs were?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll pass the witness.
Yes.
You gotta take me fishing.
Nothing further, Your Honor. We would move forward. We would ask for entry of the order on the judgment declaring the heirship. I believe it was submitted to the court, and if needed, will be resubmitted to have or show the signature of the ad litem as well.
She signed it, and I hereby approve the judgment declaring heirship, and you may proceed, ma'am.
All right.
Thank you.
Kenneth, will you please state your full name?
Kenneth Troy Wright.
And do you go by Troy?
Yes, ma'am.
Was your father Kenneth Dale Wright?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he pass away on or about April 14th, 2021?
Yes, ma'am.
Where did he pass away at?
Baytown Methodist,
Do you recall how old he was at that time?
75.
And at or right before his death, where was he residing?
7910 Ocean Drive, Beach City.
Is that in Chambers County?
Yes, ma'am.
And to the best of your knowledge, did you find a will for Mr. Kenneth Dale?
No, sir. Did not. No, ma'am. Did not.
Do you believe that there's a need for administration of the estate?
Yes.
Has there been bank accounts that you have not been able to get access to?
Yes.
And is that the reason that you're asking for the administration?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you also asking for the bond to be waived? And as far as Kim is concerned, she's agreed that the bond be waived.
Yes, ma'am.
And are you also asking for the waiver of appraisals?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any reason that you should not serve as the independent administrator, meaning you don't have any felonies or any conflicts with the estate?
No, ma'am.
And are you asking the court to name you and approve everything within the order for independent administration?
Yes, ma'am.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, everybody approve the independent administration and authorize letters of administration.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Have a good day. Tell you your two characters, your two witnesses. Thank you.
He said, yeah, have a good day.
Yeah, you
Have a
too.
good day too, Judge. I
Thank
like
you.
the cup, Judge.
Thanks.
I like the Astros cup.
Go.
Go Stros.
Take care.
You too.
All right, next on the agenda, 21 CPR 0089, State of Ronnie Joe Trice. Mr. Faber, good morning.
Good morning, sir. My
proceed.
name is John LaFever, and I'm personally acquainted with the decedent and his wife, Ronnie Joe Trice. He died March 16th, 2019 at his home in Anahuac, Chambers County at the age of 79 years. 4 years have not elapsed since his date of death. At the time of his death, he was domiciled and had a fixed place of residence in Chambers County. To the best of my knowledge and information, he died testate. You have the original will that he executed on August 5th, 2016, and I was the notary to that signing. To my best knowledge and information, this will has not been revoked, and since it had been executed, there were no divorces and no children that were adopted after the publishing of this will. It is self-proof. There was no device to the state of Texas, a governmental agency of the state, or a charitable organization. Reverend Trice designated his wife, Dorothy Sandra Trice, to serve as independent executrix of the estate. And to best of my knowledge, she is not disqualified from accepting letters, testamentary, or from serving as executrix, and she is entitled to receive letters. And she is the person that was designated in the decedent's will. Decedent's estates consists principally of land, all located in Chambers County, and personal property located within the homestead. This is my testimony.
Okay, everybody admit the will of probate and authorize letters. Thank you, Counselor.
You have a good day, sir.
You
God
too.
bless you.
Same here. All right, calls number 91, the State of Joel Howard Gentry. Good morning, Mr. Fuller.
I'm back, Judge. I'm trying to
There you
unmute. I'm unmuted. I'm with you now.
I see that. You may proceed, Counselor.
Miss Ard, would you step over here and have this chair? Ms. Ard, would you please state your name for the court?
Dana Kate Gentry Ard.
And you're the daughter of the decedent, Joel Howard Gentry, is that correct?
That is correct.
And he died on July the 10th, 2021 in Chambers County at 70 years of age.
Correct.
And obviously 4 years have not elapsed since the date of his death, is that correct?
That's correct.
At the time of his death, he was a resident and domiciled in Chambers County.
Correct.
The original will is dated October the 15th, 2004. However, you were not able to locate the original will. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Tell the court just briefly what efforts you made to locate that will.
I looked in all of his personal files at his place of business that I thought he would have kept something of importance like that. I was unable to find anything at his business. And I also looked in his safe, in his important papers in the filing cabinet at his home, and was unable to find them, the copy of the will there.
You don't have any reason to believe that he revoked that will, do you?
No.
Your Honor, we'd ask the court to take judicial notice of the copy of the original will dated October the 15th, 2004, which has been filed with the court.
So done.
To your knowledge, the will was never revoked, correct?
Correct.
There were no children born or adopted after the execution of the will.
Correct.
He was divorced after the execution of the will from Denise Gentry. Is that correct?
That is correct.
The will names you to serve as independent executor, and to your knowledge, there's no reason why you'd be disqualified from serving?
No.
The will does not name the state, a governmental agency of the state, or a charitable organization as a beneficiary. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Your Honor, there is a need for an administration of this estate. It's a non-taxable estate. We'd ask the court to waive the appraisers and admit the will to probate. Oh, I do have a witness in regards to the proof of the signature.
Okay, you may proceed on.
Ms. Hunter, would you state your name for the court?
Joan Hunter.
You're formerly Joan Moran, is that correct?
That is correct.
Were you present on October the 15th, 2004, when Joel Howard Gentry executed his will?
Yes.
Did he acknowledge that as his last will and testament before you and the other witness, Donald Reesner? Is this correct?
Yes.
And to your knowledge, was he appear to be of sound mind on that day?
Yes, you are.
Did you and Mr. Reesner sign as witnesses in his presence?
Yes.
And he acknowledged that as his last will and testament. And you and Mr. Reesner were both over the age of 14?
Yes.
And Mr. Gentry was over the age of 18?
Yes.
Your Honor, that's all I have.
Okay, everybody admits the will of probate here, the copy of the will. Produced in court to probate and authorized letters of testamentary. Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you, Judge.
You ladies have a good day. All right, cause number 93, the state of Richard Victor Benoit. Good morning.
Good morning, Your Honor. How are you?
You may proceed, Counsel.
My name is Brandon Benoit. I'm here on the estate of Richard Victor Holloman. Mr. Holloman passed away on April 19th, 2019 in Houston, Harris County, Texas. At the time of his death, he had a fixed place of residence and domicile in Baytown, Chambers County, Texas. He died leaving a will, the original of which has been deposited with the court. We'd ask the court to take judicial notice of that at this time.
Go down.
That will was dated March 1st, 1989. That will was self-proved as provided by the Estates Code. To the best of my knowledge, he did not revoke the will after its execution. 4 years have not elapsed since the date of his death. Subsequent to the execution of the will, he had one child born to him, namely William Holloman, who is a child of the marriage between the decedent and the applicant in this matter. The applicant is not disqualified from serving as independent executor of the will. The will names her to serve without bond. The will also does not name any state agency, governmental entities as beneficiaries. And we would ask the court to, let me add one thing. He was not divorced after the execution of the will. We ask the court to admit the will to probate and appoint Kathleen Marie Holloman as independent executor to serve without bond.
Go down. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, cause number 94, the state of David Earl Whitener. Ms. Savage, good morning.
Do you want to swear Julia in?
Yes, if we hadn't sworn her in, let's do that. Raise your
Oh,
right
I
hand.
did. Okay. Raise your hand.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're giving today is true and correct, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
You put your hand down, you may proceed, Counsel.
You are Julia Ruth Whitener.
Right.
And Miss Whitener, did your husband David Earl Whitener die and pass away on July the 18th of 2001?
Yes.
And he passed away in Baytown, Harris County, Texas. And he,
No, at his residence.
in Chambers County. And 4 years have not elapsed since the date of his death. It hasn't been 4 years.
No.
And was he domiciled and had a fixed place of residence in Chambers County, Texas at the time of his death?
Yes.
And I'm going to show you a copy of the last will and testament, which has been filed with the court dated May the 29th of 2012. And Judge Wood asked the court to take judicial notice of that last will that's filed with the court.
Hold on.
Okay, and I'm going to show you that. To your knowledge, Julia, looking at that, was that instrument dated May the 29th, 2012, his last will and testament?
Yes.
And it was never revoked?
No.
Okay.
No.
And is there a necessity to administer this estate?
Yes.
Okay. And in regard to any children, were there any born or adopted to Mr. Whitener after the date he executed the will?
No.
Okay. And was he ever divorced?
No.
Never had a marriage annulled or declared void?
No.
Okay. And in regard to what he left, he didn't leave any bequest to the state of Texas?
No.
Any government agency?
No.
Or any charity?
No.
He left it all to you?
Yes.
Okay. And you're named as independent executrix in the will? And we've discussed that you are not disqualified from serving.
No, I'm
Okay.
not.
And you had asked that the court appoint you as the independent executrix.
Yes,
Okay. And in regard to a taxable estate, this estate will be non-taxable. And you're asking that appraisers be waived
yes,
and that the court grant admit the will to probate.
yes.
That's all we have, Judge.
All right, hereby admit the will to probate and authorize letters. Is this Butch?
Yes.
It is.
Okay, you
I
know,
had a hard time not saying Butch.
well, and I really couldn't remember Butch's last name. You know, Butch's brother, my Uncle Skinny,
Yeah,
married to my aunt.
yeah.
And so I hadn't seen Butch in a long time, but sorry to hear about his death.
Thank you.
He's a good guy. My Uncle Skinny was too. So
Yeah, they were.
yeah, both of them good boys.
And Judge, will file after she signs it, the proof of death and the oath. We'll have to send that over. Okay,
All right. Thank you.
thank you.
Ladies, have a good day.
Thank you.
Judge,
Ma'am.
okay, that last one has been,
Mhm.
that one's been reset. Ms. Kratzer or Watson,
I wondered, I didn't see anybody else on.
right. That one was canceled.
All
Okay,
right. Sounds good.
and I'm on my way
I
up for
guess-
bond forfeitures.
Okay, so we'll do it in the office because we got budget workshop going on in the courtroom.
Okay,
So and I guess one of the attorneys are coming down.
yes, Ms. Gonzalez should be here.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
You
Have a
ladies-
good day.
You ladies have a good day too. Take care.